Hey new mama, it's Ellie. Welcome back. I'm not doing so well. Hey new mama, welcome back. It's Ellie. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new, make sure you hit subscribe down below so you don't miss my next video. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you all of my breastfeeding tips. Not just one, not just 5, all of them that I can remember at this point in time. So get ready, take some notes, and let's talk about breastfeeding. So first tip is huge, and that is if you want to breastfeed, it's really important to research. I read several articles. I mean, get on Pinterest, there's a bajillion of them, but I also read The Womanly Art of Breastfeeding, and it was fantastic. Just like the first half of the book is really about like how to establish breastfeeding. The second half is like issues you might encounter. You don't really need that unless you encounter the issues. So it's a quick read, and it was really helpful. I did that. I also watched a lot of videos on YouTube. I'll link a couple of those down below on how to get a proper latch, how to, just kind of what to expect as far as like your colostrum and like how to hand express that, and like when your milk's gonna come in, like just other like things to expect, like how to know if your baby has a tongue tie, like all those things can be found real quick with a Google search. So just get an idea. That's all you really need to know. Know the signs of mastitis, because that would suck if you got that and didn't realize that that's what it was, because it's basically like the flu, real quick. I never had it, but I've heard that it's awful. So just be educated. If you want to breastfeed, just know that you're gonna have to do a little bit of reading or a little bit of oh my, what the hell? Are my lights blinking? Okay, I don't think that's really happening. Sorry if it looks like it is. I'm gonna turn it off. So find some books that you really like, talk to friends who have breastfed, talk to family members who have breastfed, and just ask them, you know, what was the biggest challenge? What can I expect? Just really simple. You just want to kind of have an idea of what you're getting into before you get into it. Otherwise, you could be really surprised, and it can be challenging at times. So to know that going in and be prepared for the challenge is only going to help you. Another thing that I did not really know about until I had my child was the different positions that you can breastfeed in. So I was told by the labor and delivery nurse that I could use the football hold to breastfeed. And so that's where you have the baby like kind of laying next to you and facing you basically. And I had never really like read about that or seen it online, and so just getting even just a glimpse, like look at an infograph, like that'll help you so much, just having a little bit of knowledge that you otherwise would not have had. But the other thing I want to talk about is a Boppy. Some people don't like them, that's fine, but I needed a Boppy. And so this is a Boppy. Poppy and I, we use a Boppy at night in the rocking chair, but we don't use one during the day now. I kind of just like prop a bunch of pillows up next to me and we do it like that. But she is much older with a newborn. And what I did with Poppy a lot, and well, with both of them, was I would use the Boppy, and then I would have a pillow like this under wherever their head was. And then I would have another pillow like this behind me for good posture. That was another thing I learned in the hospital, was you are the queen. So you bring that baby to you. You don't go to that baby. I just thought it was a cute little phrase that you're the queen. Makes you feel good too. So this is a Boppy, and I loved it, used it the whole time with Anna and the most of the time with Poppy. But then I just so happened to be at a thrift store and I found this bad boy, which is My Breast Friend. It's different because it actually hooks to you. It hooks around you. Now with this, I still had the pillow under here, and that's how Poppy and I did it. I started using this one probably like, I don't know, 3 months after I had her, just because I had found it for cheap, But it turns out that it's actually really good. My physical therapist told me it was good for me because it just doesn't move away it can't move away from you as much, which causes you to like slouch over. So if you're someone who has poor posture or you know, needs something a little bit more sturdy, or maybe this isn't comfortable for you, you might try out the Boppy, or you might try out the Breast Friend. So those are 2 different types of breastfeeding pillows you can get. You can also just use a bunch of pillows. I use the Boppy plus a bunch of pillows, especially with a newborn, because they're so tiny and you need to try and be relaxed as possible while you're breastfeeding that baby. So just do what you gotta do. We kind of already talked about it a little bit, but just know that, at least for me and several other women, mothers that I have talked to, the first 3 weeks of breastfeeding seems to be the hardest, just because your nipples do kind of have to get used to it. Not that they get like calloused or anything. That would be really weird. But there's just kind of like a transition period. Which brings me to some of my favorite tips. Now, one of them is on the floor. So the first thing, when you first start feeding your baby, obviously you're going to want to research how to get a good latch. I have always been told, or like some of the pieces of advice as far as latch goes that I found most helpful was to like sandwich the nipple. That's one of them. You can look all of this up. I'm not going to demonstrate. Sandwich the nipple. You want to point your nipple towards like the baby's nose and then like flip it into their mouth like that. You can see videos of all of these online. It's not really just the nipple. It's like the whole areola. You want to just get as much of your boob into that baby's mouth as you can. I know it's weird, but it works. Really, as far as I always felt, if you can get a really good latch, it's not gonna hurt the whole time. That's probably not true. Initially, getting the baby to latch on was always really painful for me, but once they did and I got through that, then it was okay. So, you just gotta keep trying. Just know that the first 3 weeks are kind of rough as you and your baby both get used to breastfeeding. So when you are going through that transition period, some products that I absolutely swear by now are Lanolin. This is the Medela Tender Care Lanolin. I'm sure they make it, other brands make it, but this is the one I always got. And these Tender Care Hydrogel pads, soothing gel pads by Medela. Now, I tried to get like a really like natural organic nipple balm before I got this, and it did not work at all like this did. This stuff is amazing. It's made from lamb's wool, which is just weird. Wool wax. Anyways, yeah, it's really good stuff. So what I would do, these, I kind of want to open one and show you, but they're still good, so I'm not going to. These have actually, this is so weird. These have been in my refrigerator for over a year. But they're these little gel, you can kind of see the shape a little bit. It's just like a little gel square, and it has like a plastic backing that you peel off. And then there's directions on it. You rinse it in water, you shake it off. This is set aside for 2 minutes. I don't know, it's strange. But the nurse in the hospital told me about these. She gave me a couple in the hospital, so you may ask for some if you don't want to buy them. I don't think I bought any, and I have 4 right now. Anyways, what you do is you take it off, you rinse it, and then you just put it on there in your bra, and after you finish nursing, you put it on. Put some of this on first, then put that on. And the best part about these is you keep them in your refrigerator, so they're nice and cold, and they help so much just get you through that hump of ouchiness of pain, especially if you have like a cracked nipple or something. Yeah, so helpful. And then the best part is that they're reusable. It says on the package that they're reusable for 24 hours, but I'm gonna be honest, I used mine for longer than that. So I always had 2 sets so that I could be wearing one while another one was in the fridge, and then I would feed the baby, take these out. You are supposed to wipe yourself with like a warm washcloth after you take them off before you feed the baby. The nurse even told me to, when you open them, you just tear the top off. You want to keep this packaging though, so you can, and the little plastic piece that you peel off of the gel pad. Keep everything so that you can put it back together and in the fridge, and it just makes it easier to keep everything nice and together. So these are amazing. This is amazing. This stuff, seriously, I would almost say that I don't know if I could have breastfed as well without this stuff, because those first 3 weeks are really tough. And I know some people say like, oh, it's not supposed to hurt at all. Well, it did for me. But I got over it, and my breastfeeding journeys have been amazing. I've breastfed 2 beautiful babies very well for a long time. And the first 3 weeks was really hard. So that's my experience. And these 2 products were like super helpful. One big tip that I learned from our Bradley Method coach is to make sure that the lactation consultant in the hospital watches you nurse in the hospital. So if she comes and the baby just ate, say, can you please come back in like an hour? And hopefully you can catch them. It's just really important that they can actually see you nursing and see the latch, because they can give you so many pointers, and they're really valuable. And here's the kicker: if you don't see them while you're in the hospital and then you have to see them later, apparently insurance does not cover it once you're out of the hospital. So make sure you see the lactation consultant. Make sure they see you nursing before you leave the hospital. Dang, my light. Okay, and my last tip that I can think of right now, I'm sure I'll have more later, they're not coming to me at this point, but this was just something that I think I had heard about feeding on demand before I had my first daughter, but I felt like it just came really naturally to me. At some point I had seen probably like an infographic of feeding cues, and one of them was the hand to the mouth as a feeding cue from a newborn. And so that just like stuck in my brain, and I laugh about it now because I feel like Anna was probably like, what? There's just so much boob coming at me all the time. But I mean, every time Anna would put her hand to her mouth, I was feeding her. And so I really fed her on demand, sometimes like every hour in the beginning, and it worked out really well. She slept really great. She ate really well. She did have a big cluster feeding like the 3rd night, which is totally normal. Yeah, I would definitely say to try and feed on demand in the beginning. Don't feel like you have to wait 2 hours or 3 hours. I just never felt like I was looking at a clock. Those are just kind of the 2 options, I guess, is either feed on demand or feed every 2 to 3 hours. I would do a combination, in my opinion. If you're not getting any cues and it's been 2-3 hours, just feed them. I should say, so as a breastfeeding mother, these are my 2 favorite benefits of breastfeeding. One is that the immunity that the baby gets from you through your breast milk, so helpful when you have another child in the house or a husband, because at this point Poppy has been breastfed her whole life, and she's 14 months old right now, and she has maybe gotten 1 cold, And Anna just had like 3 colds in a row, and me and Poppy did not get any of them. So, I mean, that just kind of shows me that she really is getting my immunity. And it's just easier only having 1 sick child than having 2. So there's that. The other benefit, my favorite benefit of breastfeeding, is that it's kind of like a cure-all. So if your baby is freaking out, you breastfeed them. If your baby is not going to sleep, you breastfeed them. If your baby... No, I know, this could turn into a really big battle later on. But it's just always worked for me. It's always been really easy. It's always just been really easy to soothe my children through breastfeeding. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you found this video beneficial, and if you have any questions or breastfeeding tips of your own, please leave them down below for me and everyone else. And I hope to see you next week. Thanks. Bye. I don't know where the Creative South is, but I'm hoping it's close. Hey, new mama.